Oh.
Nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy, really.
Oh yeah. Rex?
Hey, dude. Are you there, brother? Yeah, that's beautiful. Love to see it. Hey, cybersecurity analyst and mentor. Hey, okay.
Yes.
Okay, take it easy now. Take it easy now.
Yeah.
Take it easy now. Nah, bro, I love to see
Okay.
it.
Aiden is here, yeah?
Aiden. Yeah, Aiden is Melsoft Academy. Without
Ah,
Aiden, we are
sweet.
nothing.
Of course. Of course.
Without Aiden, we are nothing.
Yep.
All right. Okay, Aiden says we're live.
Awesomeness.
Lovely, 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 lovely. Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome to everyone who has been waiting. Trust me, you have been waiting for something that is going to blow your mind and is definitely worth the wait, I would say. Today we're going to be talking about something that is absolutely revolutionary, absolutely necessary, and something that, like, if you're watching this right now, and you're considering joining this bootcamp with Melsoft Academy, this is your Bitcoin moment. I'm gonna say it again. Close your eyes and imagine it's 2007 and Bitcoin has just started and Bitcoin is going for 1 cent, because the value that you're gonna get out of this is gonna be insane. So welcome to everyone. Welcome. Today we have a very special guest, a very important man who is going to be taking us through the waves. But before we get into introducing this important man or anything, I just want you to comment in the chat. I just want to warm you up a little bit. Comment in the chat, where are you watching this from? Your name and location. Where are you watching this from? So I'm Laurice. I'm in Johannesburg, South Africa. And I'm waiting to see who is on the comment section and where are you watching from. I see we have 13 people on YouTube, which is great. And I see we have 6 more on Riverside. Not sure how many people we have on LinkedIn, but admin, please, for everyone who's on LinkedIn, can you please just copy paste that, all the comments that they make on Riverside so that I can see. Thank you so much. But welcome, 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 welcome. So in the first 3 minutes, we're just gonna give an opportunity to all the latecomers because we're nice and why not? And so whilst we wait, please comment down in the section, where are you watching this from? Where are you watching this from? Your name, where are you watching this from? And maybe what do you hope to get out of this? Like what do you hope to get out of this? What's the biggest question that you have for us? So I see Mr. Listen Jimu. Welcome, Mr. Listen Jimu. That's my dad, by the way. Welcome, Mr. Jimu. He is calling in from Germiston. That's fantastic. Kayaletu, I see you. Kayaletu is in Devonton, South Africa. Wow. Okay, Devonton, South Africa. That's some reach right there. Orifile. Hey, Orifile, welcome. Orifile, I remember you from the last webinar that we had on the social on the scholarship that we had. So welcome, Orifile. It's good to have you again. Nigel in Gauteng. Hey, Nigel. Good to have you. Good to have you. Yonella in Johannesburg. Hi, Nella. How are you doing? Thank you so much for watching. So we have people from all over South Africa. I'm just waiting for the first person who's gonna say I'm in America or I'm in the UK or something like that. That's what I'm trying to see. But welcome, welcome. As we wait for people to join in, I'm just gonna ask you, comment down below, where are you watching this from? What's your name? Introduce yourself. And today, honestly, today we have something really, really big. We have something really, really big. I see you, Mbali. Mbali from Alex. Welcome, Mbali. It's good to have you here. We really appreciate your presence. Thank you to everyone who so far who has commented. There's 17 of you and I've only said like 5 names. So I know that there are a lot more. Don't be shy. Come on. Comment down below. Where are you watching this from? Welcome. As we wait for people to trickle in, I see we now have 19 on YouTube. I see we have a bit more on Riverside as well, which is fantastic. Mbali from Alex, welcome. It's good to have you here. Magugu Katloheng from East Rand. It's good to have you here. Thank you so much for watching this. And I hope that you are as excited as I am for this, I would suggest that you take a pen and a notebook, because what we're going to be saying here and what you're going to be learning here is potentially revolutionary. Leftile from Katlehong, welcome Leftile. I remember Leftile, that's a name that I definitely know. Welcome to have you. Larith from the office behind you. You're not funny, Larith. Stop trying jokes. You're not funny. That's my brother, my co-founder as well. Good to have you. Thank you so much, Mr. Larith, for gracing us with the occasion. I'm going to give the latecomers 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. If you haven't sent this link to people that you know are ambitious and want to get into the tech industry, now is your time to copy this link and paste it and send it to everyone that you know. Let's pump up the numbers. Come on, my people. Come on. Khomoto from the Val. Welcome, Khomoto. Good to have you. Amogelang from Pretoria. To be precise, Mabopane. That's fantastic, Amogelang. It's great to have you here. You are set for a night that's going to be fantastic. I'm going to tell you that. Makwele from Johannesburg West, particularly Krugersdorp. Welcome, welcome. And I'm just going to give us 1 more minute. I'm just going to wait 1 more minute. Whilst we wait for this one minute, tell me, what is one of the biggest cyber crimes that is committed in this world? If someone knows that and you type that down, I personally am going to send you a Melsoft Academy t-shirt on me. You don't need to pay for nothing. You just give me your address and I'm going to send you a Melsoft Academy t-shirt. Prosper from Rosebank, it's good to have you, Prosper. Thank you so much for joining. It's good to have you. What is the biggest cyber crime that is committed on the internet? And I know that our expert, Mr. Tinashe, is definitely going to know that, but you're not allowed to answer that, Tinashe, sorry. Mr. Larry Jimu says identity theft. I'm going to wait for 3 more responses before I give that out. And please don't search it up on Google. That's boring. That's boring. That's boring. That's very boring. But for people who don't know, cyber identity theft is basically when people act like they're you and then they steal. So yeah. All right. Awesome. All right. I'm gonna wait for a little bit more. Guys, you don't want me to send this shirt to Laurice Jimu now, do you? He has like 5 of them. Come on. What is the biggest cyber crime that is committed on the internet? It's a simple question. And so far, I'm not seeing anything. Welcome, Nozi from Pretoria. Good to have you. Nico from Johannesburg South. I see you, Nico. Welcome. It's good to have you here. And it seems as if no one is answering the question that I've asked. And it's past 5 minutes. I might as well give it to Laurice Jimu because he's the only one that tried. A free shirt, Melsoft Academy shirt. Actually, this shirt costs 479 Rand. But I'm going to send it to you for free. What is the biggest cyber crime that is committed on the internet? And Mr. Tinashe Matanda, I'm going to introduce him very soon, but he's also going to give us the answer to that and tell us who it is that is going to win the shirt. So I'm going to give us 1 more minute. So I see the answers are starting to trickle in. Nozipe Zinhle says phishing/spoofing. Orifile says ransomware. Someone else says doxing, and someone else says hacking. All right, I think I will lock those answers in. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce quickly Mr. Tinashe Matanda, and then Mr. Tinashe, you can just give us the answer to that, and then you can just take it away. So for those that do not know, Mr. Tinashe Matanda is a certified cybersecurity lecturer. He has been in the digital forensic analysis field for a good chunk of his life now. And the way that he started this whole cybersecurity thing is actually fantastic. I won't really disclose of that information, but let's just say he wasn't always interested in keeping you safe, but we're on the other side. And as of right now, Mr. Tinashe has been a tutor at Prep to Perfection. He has also been a college lecturer at Kaizen. He's also been a bug bounty hunter at HackerOne. and he is now currently the mentor of the Melsoft Academy Cybersecurity course, which we will be talking about and launching. I see a few more answers. Yonela says hacking, Leftile says online fraud. Mr. Tinashe, welcome to the call, and please take it out of the misery. Who is winning the shirt, and what is the biggest crime that is committed on the internet? You can unmute yourself and welcome to the chat, sir.
Okay. Oh, hi. I would firstly want to greet everyone who's watching. So, to put you out of your misery, the most common cybersecurity or cyber attack per se is social engineering. Reason being, at this point in time, basically anyone who would go and open up their emails would find a phishing email there. Anyone who would check out their messages, they would find phishing there. Anyone who would basically do anything, they would find something fake that would try to trick them to disclose some information. So this should be given to the one who says social engineering.
Social engineering. I do not see a single person in the comment section that says social engineering.
Oh, actually there is.
I mean, someone says phishing / spoofing. Is that good enough? Are we giving it to Nozipe Zentle then?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So Nozipo, after this, please send me your details. As far as I'm concerned, you might be a student already, so it might be easier to send you something, but please send me your details, and I will personally guarantee that I'm sending you a shirt. Congratulations, and welcome, Mr. Tinashe, and please take it away. The floor is yours.
Whew. Okay, so we're going to talk cyber, yes? Okay, so I'm going to start off in such a way. I'm going to assume that no one has any idea what is what. So I'm going to start it off there. Total newbies. So you heard about cybersecurity. Someone told you about cybersecurity, and now all of a sudden Laurice invited you to a webinar, and here you are. You would like to know what cybersecurity is. So because I'm a very, very good person, I'm going to share this with you, and we can talk about this a little bit, and we'll outline the bootcamp as well as we go. So let's talk about the bootcamp, but first let's start off with what is this? What is this really? So if we take the whole concept of cybersecurity on planet Earth, basically, if we take it back through history, we were developing things, we developed buildings, we developed a whole lot of things. Now, we had a whole concept of we want security guards to protect buildings, we want CCTVs to watch who does what, and so on, which was very good. In fact, we could enforce laws, we could make sure that if someone does a crime, we could make sure that they're persecuted. Information that is disclosed by word of mouth, we could do that by means of things like NDAs and so on. Things were beautiful. Things were nice for the law. Things were wonderful. But things decided to get a little bit different. Things decided to get digital when we're now talking about the concept of digital assets. So now we have information not in human beings and documents that can be stolen. Otherwise, we'll just use security guards. So now things are in digital form. You have something on a USB stick. How do you protect something like that? Or if it's on a computer, how do you protect something like that? In fact, if we make it even more complicated, let's just say that you developed a program or a picture and someone wants to copy it and use it as their own. The concept of copyright you might have heard of. How do you protect something like that? So this is where they decided to sit down and come up with the concept of cybersecurity, which may sound like a very huge word, but people can look at it at two different ends. It's either a practice or it is a research. So it's very much on those two ends. But the end goal of this practice and research is all about defending organizations and computer systems. So all these digital assets, all this information we have in USBs and computers and so on, this whole study is to protect these things. Now, obviously, you might be like, USBs can be stolen, right? But isn't that what a security guard is going to do? Yes, a security guard might keep that USB safe, but the information in it, the security guard cannot do much about it. That is now where it becomes a different scope, which is cybersecurity. So we develop these methodologies and these whole skills that we use to protect these informations that are in digital form, whether it's your social media account, which could be hacked, as they say, or stolen or hijacked or anything like that. The whole concept of cybersecurity is protecting that. Like we've mentioned, the physical assets are protected. That is fine. In fact, in the whole concept of cybersecurity, we don't care about that. We care about digital assets, which is information that is in a digital medium. Computers, phones, USBs, and since things got a little bit better, cloud, when we're talking about computers that are not exactly physically present with you, they are somewhere up there on the internet, dedicated, and you have a computer all the way there, then it's your job to protect those ones as well. And the big thing to note now is cybersecurity affects not just organizations and businesses, individual entities as well. You as a person, you are affected by these cyber attacks that we've mentioned. If you take some time and you go through your spam emails, you would find some very interesting emails. Some guy would say, hey, you have a package from UPS that didn't arrive. How about you pay a penalty fee? And then you'd be gullible and say, oh, cool, let me just do this. Maybe it's Laurice who's sending me a t-shirt. Then you would
I've fallen
gullibly
for
do
that one
that.
before. I've fallen
Exactly.
for that
So
one
you
before.
do
I'm
that.
just gonna confess.
Precisely. So this whole concept has been built. So we sat down and we came up with this whole thing of cybersecurity. So it's all about protecting organizations and individual entities. That's perfectly fine. So it's almost like the whole idea of security guards and CCTVs. So if you look at this whole security of physical stuff, you have your security guards and you've got your access controls and you've got CCTV surveillance cameras and so on. Everyone has like a different job. So in cybersecurity, we also have our roles to play as well. Obviously, it's not just these two, but to highlight some of the roles that one can play in the field of cybersecurity. Let's just take an organization. So we have some stuff inside some computers in the building. Now we need to lay out some people who are going to protect these things so that you don't just get in and take the stuff with ease. So firstly, we need some guy to be monitoring. So we have these cybersecurity analysts. Now, I normally like to put these together with these guys called cybersecurity engineers. So what these people do, these are like your builders. Before we even have that building and have the first floor and the second floor, this person sits down and says, no, the wise thing is we need to have this little sensor this side, and we need to have the camera right there, and we need to have this there and there and there and there. And then once they do, they monitor. And once they monitor for this, they are looking for these things called threats and incidents. A threat, obviously, is anything that could cause a havoc within your system. So that's what we would refer to as a threat. Now, obviously, we can't protect everything 100%. Things could go wrong. You could have an incident, as they call it. So that's another possibility. So this person who builds this entire system that must work to protect against these threats and so on and so forth, that's your cybersecurity analyst or your cybersecurity engineer. So this person would say, you know what, it is wise that we use this antivirus on this computer because it's fast, or this computer is slow, then perhaps we should have this antivirus. So that person would decide on those kind of things. So now someone has built this whole system to protect us against viruses and hackers, which is beautiful. But now, as much as we have security guards, for those who know, for you to become a security guard, you need to have like a sort of licensing and security certifications and so on. This is where we have these guys called the GRC analyst, or government regulation and compliance in full. So these people, they make sure that everything is up to standard, because we have our own policies in cybersecurity to say computers must have this standard for them to operate, or antiviruses must be of this date for them to be operating, and so on and so forth. So there are certain standards that have to be met. And within an organization, our GRCs are responsible for that. So we've built something, and then we have some guy who's making sure that, hey, the government is actually giving us a thumbs up to go into operation. Now, the question is, who's going to tell who when things go wrong? This is where we have these guys called the SOC analyst, and for some odd reason, this is the most open field, in fact, in our cybersecurity. So our SOC analyst is like a watchdog. So he's looking at our surveillance cameras, and when things go wrong, he would scream at whoever is supposed to respond to that incident. So, for instance, if there's a malware that has gone into, or a virus, as others call it, if there's a virus that has infected one of the computers, your SOC analyst would see and find that incident and be like, there's this file that is awkward. How about I tell so and so to turn this computer off before things go wrong. That's your SOC analyst. So you've got someone in the surveillance room, he's now watching things to make sure that nothing goes wrong. But how do you make sure that the whole thing actually works? So we have to test the whole system that we've built to make sure that the security guards are on alert and everything. So introducing your penetration testers. These are the people that actually test out everything. So there's this wonderful saying that I like giving out to students by a famous guy called Sun Tzu. And Sun Tzu was a warlord. He understood war in Chinese methodology, and he liked saying that one who understands himself and the enemy will never fear the results of 1,000 battles. Which means that if you want to be equipped for everything, you need to understand yourself and you need to understand your opponents equivalently. So far we've built so much of ourselves, but we don't know the opponent. So we would rather hire a criminal, a penetration tester, who's going to come and basically hack that entire system and find those flaws. And when they found those flaws, then they will give you an advice accordingly to say, hey, you need to fix this and you need to fix that and you need to fix that. And then lastly, we've got our digital forensics investigators. And our digital forensics investigators, what they do is, in case things go wrong, in case we've been hacked or something like that, we've been compromised, they are now going to investigate. These are now the detectives. These professionals will collect all the evidence. They will analyze all the evidence. Whether there was a deleted file or not, they can find basically anything. They preserve it and they follow their legal proceedings so that whoever was responsible for that cyber attack must be prosecuted accordingly. So in most cases, these organizations would have these people independent of the law. They don't just come with the police, unfortunately. So some businesses, if they get hacked, they'll get their own forensics investigators to investigate. Then once they have everything, they just hand it over to law enforcement, and then law enforcement will basically do what they're supposed to do, which is applying the law at hand. Which is beautiful, and this is actually a well-rounded. Anyone would want to play any role here. People are different. Others are analytical, others are investigative. So it depends on you as a person to look in and see what you would love doing for quite a long period of time of your life.
And I'm just gonna catch you there. Thank you so much, Mr. Tinashe. You started on fire, and I'm so intrigued. I'm just gonna catch you there and ask a question that is relevant. Emmanuel says, so which field in cybersecurity has the most potential?
Ooh. That's actually a wonderful question, and the answer I'm gonna give may sound rather vague, but it's all of them. Cybersecurity sits at a whopping 90% employment rate. It is almost impossible to be doing cybersecurity and be sitting at home, unfortunately. In fact, if you go over to HackerOne, you would literally find a position for yourself as long as you qualified for it. You just sit there and be like, oh, cool, I'm just going to jump in. And it's all there. But perhaps maybe Emmanuel is asking which one might be most exciting to do, or most paying, in fact. If we look through these, some might say it's the penetration tester. It's really not. In fact, it's the SOC analyst. The reason for the SOC analyst is you will forever be on watch. There's never a day that you are off.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna ask you to speak a bit slower and just dumb it down a little bit, because I'm not gonna lie, like, this is a lot. A SOC analyst, what exactly is a SOC, and what does SOC even stand for? Like, I'm just gonna ask you to say it a bit slower, as if you're speaking to maybe a 10-year-old.
Okay. So as SOC analyst, we have in networking, we have this idea that when we have a whole network of our computers and everything, we have what we call sniffers, which basically just see everything that's going into and out of a computer, or into and out of a lot of computers, hence a SOC analyst. So these people would sit down and look at graphs, and they would look at these things coming in, and then when they see something that is a potential threat, then they would investigate it, and then they would will pass it on to whoever may want to look at it. For instance, they might see that, let's say, let's take Melsoft, for instance, that we located in Gauteng, for instance, and then someone from Japan logs into the bank account, for instance. That is quite a threat, in fact. So a SOC analyst would look at that and be like, that is not right. Then they would have to inform the people who can accommodate to that threat. Obviously, it wouldn't make sense that you would inform a lecturer. He can't do anything for that. You might wanna maybe tell the CEO to shut down the bank account or freeze it or something like that. So that's what a SOC analyst would do. And these people are constantly on guard. So it's almost like that guy who sits in the surveillance room and sees everyone who comes in and comes out. Hence, SOC analyst. And you are asking what a SOC stands for. That stands for Security Operations Center, I believe. Yes, Security Operations Center, which kind of explains much what it does, but yes. All right,
Fantastic.
on the same page.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
You can continue going ahead.
All right. Okay, this is well-rounded. So for this bootcamp, we've set it up in such a way that it accommodates very much most of these roles. Some of these may need further certifications on their own, especially the digital forensics. It has a separate certification on its own. So if you want to be a digital forensics investigator, you would obviously have to start cybersecurity wise, know your networking and your so on and so forth. Then you would have to take a further digital forensics analyst course and get certified in that field. However, we've taken the liberty of setting this up in such a way that it basically sets you up for everything. And then for most of these, such as your penetration tester, SOC analysts, and the other ones, this bootcamp is very much enough to get you started on those career paths. So, what is in it in this entire bootcamp? So, just starting off first, the couple of things that you will see is our dear friends, thanks to CISCO and CompTIA, wonderful guys. So CompTIA you're going to be seeing your Network Plus. This is where you're going to be taught the basics of networking and network security. So we'll teach you how to put computers together, wire them, different types of cables to connect from one computer to another, and set it up in such a way that it's easier to maintain, and it's safe, and it's unhackable, hopefully unhackable, even though everything can be hacked into. Hopefully unhackable, and this is all something that you would see inside your Network Plus. But before this, obviously, we'll get you started in the foundations and the methodologies of hacking, what it is, because we make it as beginner friendly as possible, hence starting with the foundations and the methodologies. Then you jump into your computer
I'll
networking.
catch you there. I'll just catch you there if you will allow me, because you're now answering the question that was asked. So someone asked, I'm interested in getting into becoming a SOC analyst. Where can one start? Just with this bootcamp, all the jobs that you mentioned previously, all the career paths, does this bootcamp adhere to that? Does it let people get into that?
Yes, it does. Okay. So let me actually walk you back to some of these and some of the requirements as well. So yes, your cybersecurity analysts and your GRCs, it perfectly accommodates one. And as I've mentioned, we made it as well-rounded as possible. Your SOC analysts and your penetration testers, it accommodates this as well. However, for the digital forensics, as I've mentioned, it's almost like getting a PhD in cybersecurity per se. It gets you started. However, if you want to take the path of being a digital forensics investigator, you would take this course, and then you would take an extra, which will take you about 3 months or so, and then you can get started in digital forensics. But this bootcamp on its own, the SOC analyst and all the others, it gets you right there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. You can go ahead and continue.
All right. So you jump straight into your networking. You learn to build the networks, combine them together. Wi-Fi, it's not as easy as it looks like. You'll actually see this when we look at that part of the course. Then once we're done, we get into our security plus, the actual securing of assets, things such as your long passwords and so on and so forth, setting those things up as well as your cloud security and everything. This is where we get into the actual security part of everything, where we spend a lot of months working on just security. So this is the part where you do that and you will approach that security plus exam. Then once done, we then look at practical penetration testing and auditing. This is now where we'll be doing a whole lot of labs. We'll get a whole lot of computers, different operating systems, if you're familiar with them, like your Windows and your Androids and your Linux and all the others. Thanks to our friends at Hack the Box, you'll get a couple of computers to actually practice with. You can't just learn theory and do short practicals and so on. We actually get to do live computers. So we'll give you live computers and say, here's a computer, there's something wrong, or here it was hacked into, can you find out what went wrong, or something like that, or secure this, and so on and so forth. This is where we then look into our auditing. Okay, so the structure, as mentioned, goes accordingly. So you would have those two compulsory certifications, your network plus and your security plus. Okay, and then additional to that, we have our dear friends at Cisco, who have given us the liberty of providing the foundations of networking. So you'll actually have the advantage of also working with Cisco devices. We would be building using things like Cisco IoT devices, like setting up a network with CCTV cameras, such that when the camera sees something, it will send you an email or something like that. We create such networks in this bootcamp as well. So it's kind of, it's fun, if you would like to put it like that. So these are the things that you are to prepare for. That Cisco networking badge, you will need that. You will acquire that with this bootcamp, as well as your CompTIA Network Plus certification. You will acquire that, as well as your CompTIA Security Plus. You will acquire that. So in fact, if we put everything together, it's not just preparing you for cybersecurity on its own. You could just, in fact, become a network administrator or a network architect with just the Network Plus alone. Or you could put it all well-rounded and be that cybersecurity professional.
Wow. And just to be completely clear, in terms of Cisco and CompTIA, how valuable are these institutions in terms of them certifying us?
Ooh, that's a good question. So Cisco and CompTIA are absolute industry standards. So if you were to go on LinkedIn and go for very much any job that you would like to apply for in terms of cybersecurity, you're most likely going to see these two names. They are an industry standard. So most employers would expect that you adhere to these standards, the standards set forth by CompTIA and the standards set forth by Cisco. So with them having those, with you basically acquiring these two, you would go a very long way. So they prepare you well-rounded, as I've mentioned. They'll prepare you well-rounded. So as soon as you get on the job, you would not be as confused. So when it comes to Cisco, it may be a little bit different with the CompTIA, due to the fact that Cisco works with just Cisco devices. So if you were to be hired to work for some company to set up a network or troubleshoot or maintain a network, for instance, if the company said you must have a Cisco, that's probably because they use Cisco devices in that company. But hey, Melsoft says you will get a Cisco badge, and you are to get a Cisco badge. So you are prepared if they use Cisco devices. Now, if they do use other devices, maybe it's like Netgear or other brands, that's where the Network Plus comes in. It preps you for that accordingly. So again, it is quite well-rounded.
So regardless of where you're applying, even outside of South Africa, these certifications are still valuable. And
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. And that answers your question, Emmanuel, that you had. And another question that I'm seeing here that's suitable is from Magugu Zulu, who says, would the course be suitable for somebody who has never been in the IT field before?
Ooh, I get that question a lot. So if we take cybersecurity on its own, the beautiful thing is it's very, how can I put it? It's something that you would see out there. So yes, it is very accommodating for someone who's an absolute beginner, but I'm not going to promise you heaven on a silver platter. it's going to require quite a couple out of you. If you are an absolute beginner, then you would have to take 2 steps every time. But it's not to say that it's not going to prepare you for that. It definitely will. It accommodates everyone, except that the pace of people as they go through the course contents will be different.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you. You can continue.
All right. Okay, so with those exams, this is wonderful. Okay, now why this one? Someone would ask why? How is this one any different from other boot camps? So you might be like, why don't I just go on Cybery, or why don't I go to the EC Council or something like that? Well, it's challenging. So what we mean by that is, obviously, if you're getting started, perhaps the first month will be relatively easy, because it's theory. You have a couple of practicals there, a couple of audits there, of course. Now, the reason I'm saying is challenging. There's a difference, of course, between challenging and undoable or impossible. It is highly possible. The challenging just means that it's going to take a couple out of you. Now, after all, if you want to work for the best, then you have to prepare like the best. Hence, we say it is challenging. You work on real world problems. We're not going to give you a computer that we just installed from now. We have actual clones that are for the industry. We have a couple of web servers that are actually used by businesses out there to set up websites, and you would work on those. And as I've mentioned as well, it is well rounded. So as you noticed, you've got your networking together with your security. You even have Cisco devices for those rare breeds. It's very much everything. It's red and blue teaming based. Obviously, after saying this, someone might be like, oh, cool, is this a football team or something like that? It's not a football team. In cybersecurity, there's always going to be 2 teams. You have your red team and you have your blue team. Your blue team are your protectors, the people who set up things to protect the business. And the red team are the offenders, the ones who are there to break the system. So it is both sides. You're not always installing antiviruses and so on and so forth. You actually get to attack some of these systems to actually see if they work. And then you would be able to write down a formal report to say, here, it doesn't work because of this and this and this and that, as per industry standard. Hence, red and blue team based. It gets you started on both your offensive and your defensive real world work. So throughout this as well, towards the end of the course, we'll actually get to look at some of the industries. Like your hacker one, we'll get to look at some of those websites where there are some issues as well, like your SQL injections for those who are familiar with it, those kind of things. And we'll also get to look at our dear friends, as I've mentioned, Hack the Box, who have given the liberty to provide some of these systems as well for us to actually perform some experimentation and so on and so forth. And actually with this course, this is the time where would go against your parents' judgment and say, do not be a naughty child. Honestly, when it comes to this, be as naughty as you can. In fact, when you're on the job, that naughtiness experience would come in handy. So it's well-rounded, which is the upper hand when it comes to this entire bootcamp.
Yeah, and that speaks to the
people.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
I'm just
sorry.
gonna catch you one more time. So that also speaks to the question that I had about this. Like, I see there's a red team, there's a blue team. To what extent can a person easily become a villain after taking this course?
That's actually a very good question. Yes.
And the way you
One
laugh
person
like that
would
doesn't
ask-
make me feel more comfortable.
Yes,
That's a
one person
villain's
would
laugh.
ask, hey, why wouldn't I just go and hack some system after doing this? Yeah. But here's the thing. When it comes to your certifications, obviously you are to get those certifications as you proceed and progress through the course. But before you write these certifications, they're not like any other certification you would do. There is a documentation that you actually have to sign in such a way that if you are found wanting in a cybercrime of some sort, they will be placed void because of that. So it's basically as if you never did it before. And if you caught, honestly, the law is not exactly as accommodating, unlike other crimes when it comes to these cyber crimes. You would spend the rest of your life not being able to touch a computer. And provided this is very much something that you know, or the only thing that you know, even worse, if this is the only thing that you would know, then you wouldn't be able to get any employment literally anywhere afterwards, which would make it very worse. So as Uncle Max, I don't know if he was Uncle Max, Spider-Man's uncle, he did say, with great power comes great responsibility. So, as mentioned, with great power comes great responsibility. So, it's up to you as a person if you want to spend the rest of your life using the stars to check the time, or you want to proceed using this cool tech gadgets that we actually have and actually have a hand in protecting them.
Wow, wow, inspiring. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So, a couple of very interesting things that we are going to use in this entire bootcamp. Some, in fact, for those who are watching, if you want to Google some of these, you can happily do that to see how interesting they are. The Cisco Packet Tracer is, for those who do networking, they actually say it's one of the most interesting tools to use. We actually use like real Cisco devices, like real routers and phones and so on, to sort of build these network simulations and troubleshoot them and so on. So you get to an extent whereby if they tell you the system is down at the home affairs, you'll just be like, I know why, I know why. So the Cisco Packet Tracer actually helps us prepare ahead of all of this, all hand in hand with the NetSIM. So the Cisco Packet Tracer, you might notice the word Cisco, you're like, it's the one for the Cisco devices. Yes, it's for the Cisco devices. Then for the case of those devices that aren't made by Cisco, then that NetSIM tool of ours would come in handy for that. So these two altogether would prepare you for all types of network devices alike. When it comes to the operating systems, on the other hand, obviously most of us use Windows. We love Windows. God bless Windows. But there's a point in time where we're going to throw it away and we get to use like this guy, Ubuntu, which is a very interesting operating system. And then there's this one, which is an industry standard and the most liked and the most loved, which is called Kali Linux. This is the one we actually use to perform our penetration test. It has all the tools that we need. We don't have to go around installing things. That's our Kali Linux. We have our Oracle VirtualBox as well, which is a nice piece of software that allows us to basically have a computer inside a computer, which is wonderful. And then, as mentioned, our dear friends from Hack the Box, they do what they do. They give us those computers to work with safely so. And that is very much it. So, those who will be joining us, I will see you in the classroom, on the internet, or wherever it is.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Tinashe. That was a marvelous presentation. And honestly speaking, I want to take this course too. I think I want to enroll as well and take this course too. It's very exciting how you could have a superpower where you can either defend or you can attack. That whole concept makes me excited. We're not going to let you off the hook really quickly because we have a couple of questions that I'm seeing here this side. So the first question that I'm going to have you answer is, I think I'll answer this one myself. So Emmanuel says, what is the best way to enter the field without the tech degree? You are looking at it, Emmanuel. You are here, you're at the door, you're so close. This is the best way to enter into this market without a degree. After taking this course and completing it in 6 months, you are guaranteed a job at Melsoft Academy. And so I don't see why not. You should give it a try. And Magugu says, we already answered this one. Mr. Listen Jimu says, I am a 50-year-old supply chain specialist. Can I divert into the cybersecurity field? Tinashe, what do you have to say about that one?
Wow, that is very new. That is very new. Wow. Actually, that's very different. In fact, I have seen people way older than that actually just getting started with cyber. Honestly, I don't see why not.
And that also ties into the question that I'm seeing here as well, which is from Paul, who says, I have a bit of Python, and I just want to understand, when does coding and cybersecurity cross paths, if they cross paths at all?
Yes, that's a wonderful question. So, Paul, In cybersecurity is well-rounded. So we have this thing called secure coding, and then we have this concept called exploitation. So I'm just gonna briefly go through each of them. So software engineering on its own would teach you how to build apps and everything, but it doesn't teach you how to secure them. You would find one who's doing software engineering would build a very beautiful website, but once it's done, you just go and do a simple attack, then boom, it starts spitting out passwords on its own. So your coding, that's where it comes in. So in most cases, when you have these teams, you would have your cybersecurity analyst there to play that part. Then in terms of exploitation, this is where we're now taking the red teaming routes, whereas the secure coding took the blue teaming routes. In terms of your exploitation, this is where we use it for exploitation. And it's actually beautiful, Paul, that you actually know Python. In fact, quick tip is on top of your Python, you might as well want to add up a language called Ruby. So this is where we now use these languages to build what are known as exploits, which is like a piece of code that takes advantage of the weakness in a system. And then it will tell you, hey, there's something wrong here, or hey, you need to fix this, or something like that, which is actually something that we do in the bootcamp as well, except that we do not write the code as of much. We rather use exploits that are already there. But from time to time, we do also take some of those codes into action.
That's a great way to answer it. Thank you so much, Mr. Tinashe, for that. And I'm just gonna move on to the next question. But before I do that, to everyone who is watching on YouTube, I'm sending a link right now to a Google review. I'm just gonna ask you, please don't be biased, be absolutely biased. Just give us a review on how you're finding this webinar. If you learned something, please just let us know. 5 stars would be really nice. I sent a link on the comment section. Your reviews are very much important because they help us to improve these sort of things for you. But moving on with the questions. So I'm seeing a question here from Tobile, and this might be a broad one, but she says, and how can people protect themselves when organizations with their personal data get hacked?
Whew, I love that question.
That's a tough one.
No, not really as tough. Not really as tough. So, Tobile, the process of this is what they call a data breach. Okay, in cyber, this is what we actually call pawning. So this is the concept that, let's just suppose I'm very good in cybersecurity. I've protected myself as much as I can, but for some odd reason, Facebook didn't want to play their part, and they got hacked into. And before you know it, there's a leak to this whole system that I've built to protect myself. So when it comes to this, you implement this whole thing that we call securing assets. So you do not depend on the security of other organizations. We do not outsource when it comes to cybersecurity. So for instance, your passwords, for instance, you can have a wonderful password. It can be as strong as it is, but it could be leaked somewhere along the way. So one person might say, hey, well, how about you change it? How about you change your passwords after every 3 months, for instance? Then even though they have a data breach, come on, I'm still going to change that password anyway. So that's what we call cyber resilience after all. So despite organizations having data breaches, you on your own need to implement that cyber resilience. So if you suppose you take this course, you would get to a point where you don't even rely on things like antiviruses to just protect you. You can't just sit there and do a virus scan and be like, okay, cool. They can miss things too. So on your own, you'd get to a point where you're able to actually detect behaviors. You'd be like, no, my computer is a little slow. How about I quickly whip up a little something. And then before you know it, you found, hey, someone's mining Bitcoin on your computer and making money out of you. So then you would do a quick little something. So that's cyber resilience. So this is actually something that's just not taught when you get a computer or something like that. You would have to learn it on its own. So honestly, you can't rely on just other organizations to do the security for you. You have to do the cyber resilience on your own by implementing those certain behaviors, like constantly changing your passwords, constantly looking at your system performance and networks and so on and so on.
Wow, and here I am with no antivirus at all. Just living life, just out in the blue. This makes me very concerned about my own safety and data. Thank you so much for answering that question. And another question coming in from Bali, who says, can I practically do cybersecurity using my Android smartphone?
Whew, I have to burst your bubble in the worst way possible. And the answer for that is no, unfortunately. You cannot do cybersecurity without a computer. Need it be a desktop PC or a laptop. Either of those work, but unfortunately, an Android smartphone you can't do that because half of the time you'd be doing certain activities where you'd have to run like three computers in one. Your phone would explode if you do that. So it's not systematically equipped for those tasks, unfortunately.
That's very fair. That sounds fair. Thank you so much for that. And another question that I'm seeing here on the chat is from Tobile again, who says, what are the most common mistakes that businesses make that lead them to be vulnerable to hackers? And I don't know if you know about the Experian hack, but she goes on to say, or they go on to say, in the case of the Experian hack, what were the implication of people's personal data being exposed?
Okay. Wow. This is a good system. So most businesses, enterprises, they outsource the security of the company to cybersecurity companies. So they would hire some cybersecurity company and say, here, please set up our system, and if something goes wrong, just work out your magic right there. But the biggest leakage you have into any organization is the people who work in it. So I always give this example to people to say, hey, if we had a company, for instance, that does forex trading, for instance, they do some trading or something, or a bank, for instance. I, as an attacker who's looking for advantages, I could just walk around there and I could leave a USB written HR documents. And honestly speaking, if you were a employee there, that would be something you want to take a look at. So you would take that and plug it into your work PC because that's where you are, isn't it? So you would go there and plug it in, and obviously I whipped up a little something for that USB, and before you know it, I am in. So the number one big issue with organizations, it's not the architecture, it's not the systems that they've built in place, it is the employees and the people who work in those systems that are the biggest. As my old instructor liked saying, she always said, we can fix anything on the planet, but the one thing we can never fix or upgrade is human stupidity. So that is the biggest leakage that you would have into any organization.
Well answered and well put. Thank you so much, Mr. Tinashe. Well answered. I see a question from Lusani, and I'll answer this one myself. And Lusani says, can you give me a loan to study in your institution and pay after I get a job? So I am proud to announce that Melsoft Academy has actually partnered with Capitec Bank. And what Capitec Bank does is it is readily, as soon as we accept you, you go through the interview process and you get in, Capitec Bank is readily available to give you a loan to study in the institution. So Lusani, 100% that is possible. All you need to do is apply, get through the interview process, and you will find yourself having that loan to study. And another question that I am seeing here is Andile, who says, is there a scholarship available if the bootcamp is not free? So 100% yes, the bootcamp is not free. And we actually just came from closing the Youth Day scholarship that we had. We have over 100 applicants for that scholarship, and the recipients of that will be announced in a week or so. So the next scholarship will be coming out most likely next year. But again, like I just said, we do have loan options as well. And from what I'm understanding and from what Mr. Tinashe is saying, taking a loan is a safe bet because the amount of jobs that are there are just incredible. And I hope that answers your question. And then the next question that I'm seeing here is from Lusani again, who says, I already have security and network plus. May you please advise on where to apply because I've been applying and nothing is coming out. I'm really sorry to hear that, Lusani. I would suggest that given that you already have a background in cybersecurity, you joining Melsoft Academy, breezing through the boot camp, since you know most of these things, that might be a way for you to get through it. I don't know if Mr. Tinashe, you have something else to say to that.
Oh yes. So now you have your network plus and your security plus, but this is almost just like your software engineering. You can't just get certificates and then sit down, cross your fingers, and hope. You have to play the other part of building like projects and so on and so forth. You're not just gonna sit in an interview to get hired and they'll say, "Do you have a network plus?" Yes. "Do you have a security plus?" Yes. "Did you do some Cisco?" Yes. And then okay, you're hired. You can't do that. You have to be able to prove. You have to be able to build a portfolio. This is why we have these platforms such as Hack the Box that have been set in place, because these platforms, they build the profile for you. So in most cases, when you are doing like a job application, you would go through that and they'll say, "Do you have any more information?" You say, "Hey, yeah, I have a little profile from Hack the Box." And then Hack the Box is then they're like, "Hey, this person is fully fledged with defensive security. They've worked with Windows. This is where you actually have the actual evidence, just like in your software engineering, where you would have your GitHub, which would present that portfolio for you. So you can't just have those two certifications, cross your fingers, and hope to dear God that you would get the job or something like that. But another thing you might do is you could also expand on top of the certifications that you have. You can, because for those that you have, you're able to start entry level, so you can go higher if you'd like. But for those, honestly, the step that you need is to build that portfolio. And yes, as Laurice said, if you breeze through this, you're obviously not gonna breeze when we get to Hack the Box, because we're going to do that. We're going to get you started on building that portfolio for you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for answering that very well. I hope that you heard that and that was helpful. Emmanuel asks, can the bootcamp be done remotely? Yes, 100% the bootcamp can be done remotely. And if you're close to Rosebank in Johannesburg, you could also come in person on Wednesdays to do the course, but it 100% can be done remotely. We currently have students in Ghana, some students in Zimbabwe, Nigeria as well. So the bootcamp can be done remotely. That is correct. And then Nicole, this one is for you, Mr. Tinashe. Nicole says, is it possible to take up cybersecurity and focus on a specific function of a system and enhance functionality of the security system? For example, focusing on procurement modules function.
Yes, you can do it like that, but it is not advised. Because imagine you were fixing a wardrobe. If I hired you to come fix my wardrobe, you can't just go and look at the screws at the bottom of the wardrobe. It might come in useful that you go well rounded. It's the well rounded that will come out victorious. So you can't just be looking at things like your procurement modules and your so on and so forth if you're prepping yourself for that. But in terms of practicality, if you know for sure that the others are secured, then you can work on one module, of course. But look at everything.
That's a really good response. Thank you so much. And Listen says, I am definitely in. Thanks for the advice. See you 8 July. See you 8 July, Listen. And that is the date of the launch, by the way. So the official launch of this bootcamp course is going to be on the 8th of July. And I can't wait. I'm super excited for this. So it's great that we have an additional person coming in for that one. And another question that I'm seeing here, just completed an intro to web design, interested in cybersecurity. How does one apply at Melsoft? Makwele, I sent you a link to the apply now button. So you have a link in the comment section where you just apply. But otherwise, just search up Melsoft Academy. You will find us on every platform and you can apply from that link. The next question that I'm seeing here, and this one might be more for you, Mr. Tinashe, is, can I use cybersecurity in instrumentation engineering program that's running the process operations? I have no clue what that means. Please answer that for me.
Okay, wonderful question. Yes, and yes in capital letters with 17 exclamation points afterwards. You have to use it. Everything has vulnerabilities. And if you are within that production line and you believe that after taking this webinar that this could be a big deal for you for that whole production line, do it. Absolutely do it. Your organization would give you 3 stars, or 5, in fact, since 5 is the total. It will give you 5 stars for doing that. So you can use it there. Every tool that you guys use there can always be stolen and taken away from you. We always like to mention this whole idea of availability. A business or normal life can always proceed if electronics are always available. And I know it sounds awkward. You'd lie to us and say, I can go on with life without a cell phone. No, you can't. You can't do that. You can't. Unfortunately, that's not how it is. Most of our information is in digital form. All that we use for business and everything, it's like that. If that is taken away from us, we will lose.
That's a brilliant response. Thank you so much, and I hope that encourages you to seek out the cybersecurity thing, because I would want 5 stars too in my place of work. The next question that we have here is from Paul, and again this one is directed to you, Mr. Tinashe, who says, does the bootcamp cover distributed denial of service and denial of service attacks? If so, do we get to write them ourselves? Ooh.
Ooh, okay.
It's a bit risky.
To accommodate those who don't know what on earth the denial of service is, I like explaining this with the concept of a store. So if you have a store, people come in to buy something. Imagine you wake up one day and there's just people crowded on the entrance of the store. So that would be a big disadvantage for your business, because these people who are crowded at the entrance are not actually coming in. They are not actually customers. So they're actually basically blocking the people, the potential customers, the real customers from coming in. So the denial of service, the normal denial of service, the whole concept is basically asking a web server or a website or a phone or something. You're basically asking it for something or requesting it. Maybe it's a website and you're like, please give me this website, please give me this website, please give me a website. And then you're doing this so many times to the point that it crashes, which messes up the availability. And if it becomes distributed denial of service, basically now anything that's connected to that computer is affected as well. So instead of having just one computer going down, you would have the entire network going down. And this takes a lot of computer power. So if I was doing a denial of service on maybe Melsoft Academy, I can't do this with just my computer to do that. So I would need what is known as a botnet. This is now what distributed denial of service is. So ideally, I would basically hack into many computers all over the world, and then I would let them do the denial of service. So imagine a website that's able to accommodate about 1 million people, but now 1 million computers are connected 10 times to it. That will then shut down the entire network and not just one computer. So these, yes, we are going to run simulations for this, but no, we do not, due to industry regulations. We do not have you do it on the production line, but we do run simulations using our little Kali Linux and the Hack the Box as well.
That is such an in-depth answer. Thank you so much, Mr. Tinashe. And please do not do a DOS attack on Melsoft Academy. Please, I beg.
I'll find out.
I beg.
I will find out.
Will. That's the red team, blue team speaking there. I like that. Thank you so much. And to everyone who is on the chat right now, I just sent in a link. Please copy that link and put it into your tab. We want to know, how was this webinar for you? Did you learn something? What did you learn? Do you want more? Please, your input to us is absolutely valuable, because we do intend to have more of these. Please take a moment to write a Google review. And thank you so much, admin, for helping me with that little short URL. I really appreciate that. So yeah, and then the next question, I hope that answers your question, Paul. The next question that we have here is from Brendan. I'm interested in cybersecurity, but I am unsure about how to begin. Can a bootcamp assist me in establishing a solid foundation in this field? Tinashe, do you want to? That was the whole presentation. I think we should rewatch this live from the start, because you will get to understand how you get that. But do you want to just hammer that point down?
Of course, of course. Number one, as we've mentioned, this bootcamp covers exactly that. Building that solid foundation, it does exactly that. So if you want to thrive in a bootcamp, obviously, it needs obviously more than just registering and then sitting and hoping that you finish it. You put in the work, obviously. With my students, I love following up. And another thing I love is I love doing things in sometimes formally, sometimes a little bit informally, a little unorthodox here and there. So it's all about going for a bootcamp that is as well-rounded as possible with industry standards. It wouldn't make sense that you go to a place where you'd get a bootcamp and then you just learn networking, yet they call it cybersecurity. It wouldn't make sense. So you'd want to go for a bootcamp that is as well-rounded. And the answer to your prayers, the Moses has come, is Melsoft Academy.
Moses has come. It's Melsoft Academy. That should be made into a quote. Thank you so much, Tinashe. And thank you for that question. All right. If we don't have any more questions, from what I'm seeing here, I'm not seeing any more questions. Andile says, so learning how to code will be advantageous to some extent. Yes, to some extent, but it's not absolutely necessary. Nicole says, thank you, Tinashe. And I would just like to say, on behalf of everyone who has been watching this for over an hour, you have been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for taking us through. Even though we knew absolutely nothing, I feel very confident. I think I can defend Capitec Bank from a denial of service attack right now. JK. But thank you so much. So just to conclude with this, I'll give you the information on this bootcamp. We are starting official launch of this bootcamp in 1 week. It is going to be starting on the 8th of July. So please get ready, be ready, get your applications in, get your interviews done, and join this rocket ship, because from what I understand and from what I'm seeing here, it is going to be such a great ride. Thank you so much, Tinashe. We really appreciate. Brandon says thank you. Listen, Jimu says thank you, Tinashe. God bless you. Thank you to all the people that were watching this live. This has been personally one of my favorite lives to do, and it has been such a pleasure hosting you. We have these webinars almost every Wednesday, so keep an eye out. If you're interested in cybersecurity, you already know the answer. Thank you so much for watching. And from my end, from Tinashe's end, do you have a last quote, a last comment, a last statement that you want to leave us with before we shut it down?
Yes, of course. This has been wonderful, but as we always like saying, whatever you do, always have pride, determination, and resilience in it. Even the cybersecurity, maintain the pride, determination, and resilience. And I will see you guys on the internet.
See you on the internet. Thank you so much. And please, I am begging you, please write us a review. How was this webinar? How did you enjoy it? What did you like? What did you not like? 5 stars. I would appreciate 5 stars. But thank you so much for watching, to everyone, and have a great night. Have a good morning, depending on where you're watching this from. And from Melsoft Academy, we're going to say good night and good life. Take care. Thank you. Bye.